So, I've been slowly making my way through Rent a Girlfriend, reading the manga and watching the show, but I'm not totally caught up yet. I've seen up to season 4 of the show, and I think I'm roughly where season 3 ends in the manga. So, take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt since I'm not fully caught up with things, but I feel like Ruka Sarashina is a very misunderstood slash overhated character. Usually, when I'm watching something, I try to avoid any discourse around it. Not only do I want to avoid spoilers, but I also want to avoid accidentally adopting a bias or opinion towards the quality of the show or movie. Basically, I feel like reviews of something sometimes feel like spoilers in their own way. Basically, if I hear that a movie is bad, I feel like I watch it expecting it to be bad, and then unintentionally spend the entire viewing experience looking for reasons as to why it might be bad and why it might be getting bad reviews. Similarly, I try to avoid hearing about which characters are fan favorites and which are despised, since this can sort of spoil a lot. If I find out that a character is a fan favorite, but they seem generic at first, it sort of spoils that something cool will happen with the character later on in the show. All of this is to say, when I finally looked up some discourse about Rent a Girlfriend, I was genuinely very surprised to find out that there is a lot of hate for Ruka specifically. Now, I get that Rent a Girlfriend itself is a hated show, which, as a side note, I actually don't understand at all, since it's literally like the most inoffensive normal romance comedy show ever. But within the fandom of Rent a Girlfriend, there seems to still be a lot of hate for Ruka specifically. Hating Kazuya, I get. Hating Kazuya's grandma, I totally get. Hating Chizuru, I actually sort of get, since she's so wishy-washy, but hating Ruka makes basically no sense to me. So first of all, I think the most important thing to acknowledge about Ruka is that she effectively serves as a foil to the entire premise of the show. Just about every character in the show is too afraid to tell the truth or express their feelings or face any sort of confrontation. Kazuya and Chizuru keep running in circles because they can't admit their feelings or at least address the elephant in the room. They also continuously lie to their parents and grandparents and friends because they can't just be honest and face that sort of uncomfortable moment of coming clean. Even Mommy, as an antagonist, usually does things through a very passive, sort of discreet way, and it's only when she gets really fired up that she becomes a bit more direct, and even then, it's still not super direct. Ruka, meanwhile, is basically a breath of fresh air in the story because she will just say what she is thinking and seems to be completely unfazed by confrontation. Where others would shy away, she marches on. She immediately was able to break things off with Kuri when she realized that she was interested in Kazuya. She was also ready to tell his entire family the truth and had no problem confronting Mommy head on, even though we've seen Mommy be low-key intimidating for people like Chizuru. She also is always direct with Kazuya and never hides her feelings or thoughts around him. Like, even if you don't want her to be the one that Kazuya ends up with, for the record, I don't think he's going to end up with her, you sort of have to appreciate her meta role within the story. Without her, there would be no breaks in the sort of passiveness of the story. It would be like only eating the same food for every meal. She adds narrative variety, dialogue variety, tone and mood variety, etc. In a lot of ways, she seems to be one of the main sources of comedic relief in the story. Usually when things are getting tense and awkward or cringy, she shows up and breaks that tension by essentially being an agent of chaos. It's sort of like how in horror stories and movies, they build and build and build tension up until the audience can't handle it anymore, and then they provide relief through something like a jump scare. With a rom-com that's based on social cringe, Ruka usually acts sort of like that jump scare, and that she dissolves a lot of the cringy tension when she shows up. Usually she does this in a sort of loud and bratty way, which I think people misinterpret as being annoying, but it's just actually a very necessary story beat. Beyond this, I also just think that she's a really interesting character. Anime as an art form is pretty heavily reliant on tropes. It's pretty easy to categorize characters into these tropes, and so after seeing enough anime, characters can start to feel a little bland if there isn't enough going on to make them stand out from their set tropes. Ruka, I would argue, feels unique due to her rare heart condition. Basically, her heart rate is always super slow, and this has caused her to go through life feeling a bit like a robot. Not only does she not feel the adrenaline of a fast heart rate while doing exciting things like roller coasters, but her parents have also kept her from doing anything super exciting or stimulating due to their sort of fears around her condition. So, as a result, she had a very gray and numb childhood. Now, at her current age, she has found someone who, for whatever reason, makes her heart rate go up. And the thing is, I can't really blame her for wanting to pursue this person, even if the situation around that person is deeply complicated. This transforms her character from just being a possessive, I like you so you have to date me character, to someone who is feeling this sort of conflicting mix of, I like this person and this person might be the key to curing my heart condition. As a result, a lot of her decisions within the story seem to stem from both of these feelings. If she just liked Kazuya romantically without the heart condition, she probably would have moved on by now. But since he also cures her heart condition, her going along with all the complications and the sort of like messy fake relationship and all of that makes a lot more sense. Beyond this, I want to just provide 3 more additional reasons as to why I like her character. Number 1, Kazuya's existence is sort of funky at times. He's in college, but wasting his time in a weird fake relationship because he can't tell his family the truth and he can't tell Chizuru the truth of his feelings, etc. So the thing is going along with this, most of the characters around him seem to be more or less always immersed in this sort of weird, funky existence. Like, for example, he takes up most of Chizuru's time, and Sumi doesn't seem to have many friends beyond Chizuru and Kazuya, so a lot of her sort of social drama is also affected by this funky experience. Ruka, meanwhile, is depicted as having friends completely removed from all of Kazuya's drama, and since she also goes to a different school, it feels like she has a life outside of this drama, which is weirdly its own sort of breath of fresh air. Honestly, I'd love to see like a one-off episode where we just follow a regular day in Ruka's life and we get to see all of the other fun things going on in her life that have nothing to do with Kazuya. You know, for example, it's implied in the story that she's low-key internet famous, but this is never really brought up again. Number 2, I find it kind of funny that she's literally the solution to all of Kazuya's problems, but he's just willfully blind to this, especially early on in the story. Early on in the story, he's clearly interested in Chizuru, but isn't like madly in love with her. His main emotional issue at that point is that he's single and desperately wishes that he had a girlfriend. He wants a girlfriend as a companion, but also wants a girlfriend so he can show her off to his friends and family. Then Ruka enters his life and wants to be his girlfriend, and she would quite literally solve all of his problems, but Kazuya just doesn't go along with this. Kazuya is the one to blame for this though, not Ruka. You can't even be mad at her for this one. 3, she's also shown as being a good person throughout the show, at least as of season 4. Not only is she interested in Kazuya because she thinks of him as being a good, kind-hearted person, but she also does a lot of selfless stuff in the show as well. For example, she helps Chizuru with her movie, even though Chizuru is her rival, and in general, she actually helps cover for Chizuru and Kazuya quite a lot, even if it goes against her own objectives and morals. When you really think about it, Ruka is one of the only characters to fully understand the situation between Chizuru and Kazuya, and as a result, she's basically the only reliable friend they have. Kazuya has lied to pretty much everyone else about his relationship with Chizuru, so Ruka is pretty much the only person he can open up to, and he usually just chooses to not lean on her in this way. And then to wrap things up, I'm going to bring up 3 more super short bonus points, which is 1, I find it really funny that Ruka and Sumi have never canonically met before. I'm pretty sure they both don't even know about each other's existence, and I just find that to be sort of a fun fact. Two, I feel like Ruka's character design is sort of underrated. It kind of has an 80s city pop vibe, especially when she's working at the karaoke bar, and I can't think of many other characters that fit in this category. And then three, I really liked how in season four, there's all this intense drama at the hotel where there's basically like a social war being waged on several fronts. And then Ruka is just over in the corner having the time of her life on the water slide. I mean, how can you hate a character like that? So yeah, that's just gonna wrap up this little video. I just kind of wanted to yap about Ruka today. So I hope you kind of enjoyed this little rant. Also, don't take this drawing too seriously. I kind of just felt like doodling and pixel art today. But yeah, take care, and I will see you in the next one.